Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Royal News Network, a Saturday morning live stream. I hope you guys are doing and having a fantastic Saturday, especially after for all of thus and in the USA. Kind of stumbled over my words there. We were obviously as well having July 4th. So I had some fun during the July 4th holiday, and I hope you guys who are here in the United States, or if you are an American anywhere in the world, enjoyed it as well. Or if you're anywhere else in the world, I hope you are having a great and fantastic Saturday. So a couple of things. I haven't been following the royal news quite as closely because I had a couple things going on this week, but obviously we do have Prince William there's a video of Prince William on a scooter in Windsor Castle. And oh my gosh, guys, this is like the greatest thing ever because I think this is hysterical. And I absolutely love it. And so let me pull it up here real quick because I think it's kind of awesome because just showing, yeah, royals having fun. It is great. We obviously have as well two big British news when it comes to the elections. Charles, once again, has a new prime minister. So another prime minister there. And here you guys, William on July 4th, scootering into Windsor Castle. There we go. That is the stuff right there. And then we also have as well Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. We did have apparently Meghan Markle was photographed in Montecito going to a farmer's market, but like you couldn't actually see her. So there wasn't really a point to it. I just saw the story in the Daily Mail. And I was like, I'm not even going to post about it on Twitter because there's like nothing there. You can't even tell if it's her or not. But background was there, but no great pictures. So we have just the continuing flop and failure that is ARO. And I did mention Prince Harry's court cases, and I saw an article and it was actually ended up being like a month old. I hate it when that happens. Somebody posts an old article and they don't explain that it's old, not new. But I mean, we can just talk overall. Harry's endless legal woes. He is apparently on the hook, and I haven't seen this before exactly, for probably about 2/3 of his case against the news group newspapers. So, like, technically, even though part of his case is still going forwards, he's technically lost. Like, I feel like every single court case Harry and Meghan, and especially Harry brings forward, at some point he starts to lose. And so what is the point of all this endless nonsense? Really, you're not going to change anything. You're not going to bring your mother back. Like nothing is going to happen. And so I'm like, why is he doing this? I don't quite understand it. Obviously, as well, we have Wimbledon beginning, and we've seen some royals or royal adjacent people in attendance. We had Lady Amalia and Eliza. Amalia and Eliza Amelia and Eliza Spencer attend. For some reason, I'm blanking on the second twin's name. Then we also had Lady, what's her name? Now I can't remember her name. One of the Lady Windsors. She was the model girl. Now I can't remember her name. Oh my goodness, guys. It's been a holiday weekend. And then we had the Middletons attending. So Carol and Michael attending, and they were in the royal box. So we will see more royals this week. And I imagine at some point, guys, we will see Catherine there at Wimbledon, maybe at the final match, maybe the kids. We shall see. So let's go ahead and begin. We have Maria Angeles Martin Ramirez. Good morning, Brittany and Miss Pippa. Hello. Lizzie B says hello all. We have Marina waiting now, but most likely be asleep when it starts. I'm so sorry. BK says amazing thumbnail. Can't wait. Why, thank you. Yes, it's just like, oh my gosh, the endless failure that is ARO just still continues to astound me. We're closing in, guys, on 4 months of nothing. So April, May, June, July. Nothing from ARO. Nothing. It's unbelievable. We have Diz says, good morning, Brittany. Seeing William on the scooter reminds me of the story about how Princess Diana would roller skate in the servants' quarters and halls. Yes, I love that. And I think they did a bit of that in The Crown too. So I just love seeing Prince William on the scooter, having fun in the castle. I mean, let's just look here. It's awesome. It's awesome. Like, I don't know why I just saw that story and just made me happy. It just made me happy. So I'm glad Prince William is doing that. We have Raven. Hi, is Harry aware of how much he is despised in the US? I don't think so. Now, I was going to do a video, but I had some family in town, so I've been doing different things. But there would be, I mean, I actually even got props for it. So we may see it now or later. But Harry, what really annoys me about Harry and Meghan, and I do need to do a whole video on this, and maybe I'll do that later today, but that they treat the United States as if it's their second chance at royalty. They left their job in the UK being royals. And so they're just going to take what they learned and just recreate it here. And I'm like, it doesn't work that way, guys. You left where you were royal and went to where you weren't royal. And so you've got to accept that now. Because what is killing them again in their businesses is trying to be royal or working royals when they're not royals anymore. That is what's killing their brand. They need to let that go. They need to drop the titles and just try being business people. They continue to fail to do that. They want us to pay attention to them because they're the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, not because that they're actually good at anything. And I will say too, some people complain, oh, you're giving attention to them and all that. And I mean, I will say the media landscape has changed. Negative attention is no longer, all press is good press. That's not really the truth anymore. I really don't think that's the case. But the other thing is that like it's sort of the anatomy of a failure. People like to watch the train wreck. That's why we watch them, is to watch the train wreck. And so that's the world Harry and Meghan have created. And so I don't think Harry realizes how despised he is. And they get these moments where, oh, they attract a crowd, people cheer them, but they're usually pretty controlled environments. And so everything is just kind of like they're not in a situation where they might really get booed. Like, a crowd of tourists around St. Paul's Cathedral that are cheering is not indicative of the, let's say, temperature of the whole world or something like that. That's what Harry needs to, kind of realize. Okay. Trina, Pippa's Bone Fund. Why, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Any interviews in the future? Oh, goodness, I keep getting something caught in my throat. Not right now. I don't really have any interviews scheduled in the future. I'm just trying to get to the Scotland trip and beyond. And beyond that, we will see if we can get something together, because I'd love to do some more of those, especially in some conversations, maybe, in different formats here on the channel and stuff too. But we don't have any in the offing right now, but hopefully at some point here in the future, because those are so fun to do. And I do love doing them. We have Rosa Santiago. Hi from Galicia, Northwest Spain. Hello. Oh, man, you told me how to pronounce it. Yulong. Oh, gosh. Hello, everyone from Huntington Beach, California. I tried to remember. I said it so many times last time. I still remember. Cheryl T in Oklahoma. Good morning, all from nice and unreasonably pleasant Oklahoma. Oh, you are so nice. You have such nice weather, I should say. Casey says, hi, everyone from dreary and extremely humid New Hampshire. Yes, because it is humid where I'm at too. I'm a little done with humidity. Ready for Scotland, I shall say. Cheryl T says, good morning, Brittany, Miss Pippa. Goose and Vinny give Miss Pippa a woof before going out on squirrel patrol. Squeaky gives a meow of indifference. She's getting brushed. Spa treatment. Aw. Kitties love getting treated well. Miss Pippa had to spend some time in a boarding place this week, which was very good, but she was very tired yesterday. It was so cute. I was driving her home and she just was sprawled out in her bed on the front seat, and she was just eyes closed and everything, just kind of dead to the world. She's like, I'm so tired. And she was only there a day and a half. Cheryl T in Oklahoma. King Charles seems relentless in his schedule. I'm younger and not dealing with cancer, and his schedule makes me tired. Hope he'll slow down in August. Hate to see him regress. Yes. So usually the most of the royals, I would say across Europe, take a break in August. So we'll see engagements start to peter out at the end of July, and then into August, we really won't see much of any royals, to be quite honest. That might be the time Meghan finally launches American Riviera Orchard with a wine of rosé that doesn't actually come from the American Riviera, which is Santa Barbara. I imagine that will be the case. Yeah. So one of the most hysterical things about the whole ARO debacle is that she's named it American Riviera Orchard, and her first product will not come from an orchard. Again, it's just that simple branding and messaging thing, the strategy that just seems completely alien to Meghan Markle. Does it not compute at all? I mean, even the Tig in some ways is a terrible name because it's too innocuous. It doesn't really mean anything. At least the Tig could be expanded into different things. But American Riviera Orchard, she is pigeonholing herself in Santa Barbara. All the products, all the sources must come from Santa Barbara area now. If it doesn't come from that, she's not really being authentic to her brand. And especially she's going to insist on organic and everything. If it doesn't come from Santa Barbara, if everything's not sourced there, it's just a mess. But yes, we will see maybe if she finally launches it in August, which would be 5 months. 5 months post launching an Instagram account. And then 4 months or so from having her friends do a completely pointless jam campaign on her behalf because nobody can purchase the jam again. I don't know why it bugs me so much, but it was like one of those things where it's like, this should be so easy, and yet it's so hard. But yes, I hope Charles is able to slow down, and I hope Harry and Meghan don't cause the royals too much trouble when they're all on break. Diane says, hi, everyone, and anyone else from New Hampshire. Good morning, Brittany and Miss Pippo. I thank you. She is probably downstairs sleeping. She may decide to come up, but she may also sleep downstairs. Suzanne Jazer says, good morning, Brittany and Ms. Pippa. What is your opinion on Meghan and Harry using their kids to make King Charles give them security? What do you think of about Meghan's parenting ability? So the thing about the security is, and here's just the simple facts and reality is overall, the kids, Harry and Meghan's kids, were probably never going to be part of the security apparatus of the UK, especially if they go with the more slimmed down approach. It was never going to happen. Security for Beatrice and Eugenie got pulled maybe around the time they were becoming the age of majority. But before then, it was going to be pulled anyways. Why? Because they don't need it. Why? Because they're constitutionally irrelevant. So there's just no process, or there's no reason to include Archie and Lilibet in any sort of security apparatus because they're constitutionally irrelevant. Harry is as well, especially as, once again, the reality of royal life is if you are not in that direct line, so if you are not the heir and the heir to the heir, at some point you will get knocked further down the line. It'll happen with Charlotte and Louis too. They'll still be working royals because Harry and Meghan abandoned the royal family. And so those kids will be working. They'll have to be. I just can't imagine William going, well, they might have to get jobs. Like you'll need the help, William. You really will. Because at some point it's just going to be you, Catherine, George, and whoever George's wife is, and maybe still Edward and Sophie. And that's it. That's it. So you will need more help. But everybody, again, it's kind of a thing where you just get knocked further down the line if you're not in the direct line. So you maybe start off at Princess Anne started out as third, and I know she's lower than 10th now. I don't know quite where she is, but she's, in the teens now, maybe even late teens in terms of her place in the line of succession. That's royal life. This will exactly the same thing happen with the Harry and Meghan's kids. Just a reality. And just a reality if they were still there. Them leaving changes nothing. And so there's no justification for Charles giving them security, and there's no justification, particularly for the government, to give them any additional security. Because again, if you go with the slim down approach, and if you go with just the main members of the family getting that full-time security apparatus, Harry and Meghan do not qualify anymore, and their kids don't either. And so Harry and Meghan can keep pushing this, but there might be nothing Charles can do, and it's just cruel. I just think it's utterly and completely cruel of Harry and Meghan to try to placate or try to get Charles to do something that he has no control over. Revic is a government apparatus. The government who is paying for this should determine who gets it. And Harry and Meghan, who no longer work for the government of the UK, who no longer live in the UK, who want to have nothing to do with the UK, actively undermine its head of state, should not be getting any security for themselves or their children. Just from a strictly, I think, just perspective, just shouldn't happen. And what do I think about Meghan's parenting ability? So, number one, guys, and I mention this all the time, I've never seen that woman parent. Never seen her parent. How do I know what kind of parent she is? We never see her with her kids. And we have never really seen her parenting. We've seen her one time with a 4-month-old or 5-month-old Archie, and that's it. And another time too, when maybe he was like 2 months old or something, and she carried him very strangely at the polo match. Other than that, we've never seen her with him. We've only seen, we did see her when she was a year old with him in that very short little video where she seemed to get a bit annoyed with him that he wasn't doing exactly what she wanted him to do. But here's the thing. Harry and Meghan want to keep their kids private. Fine. Just don't mention them. Don't mention them in any interviews. Don't talk about them. And questions about them will naturally probably subside at some point if you say, I'm not going to talk about them. Kind of same thing with Harry and his family. I'm not talking about them anymore, which he should have done from the jump. I'm not talking about them. I have a new career now. Of course, again, Harry and Meghan still trying to do the same thing they were doing before, so it doesn't work. But since I have never seen Meghan's parenting ability, and I've hardly seen her with her children, my thought process is I don't think necessarily she's super maternal. and she's perfectly willing to leave her kids at home for extended periods of time when it suits her. When it doesn't, she claims that she needs to be with them. So that's inconsistent messaging. Again, all of this is about sometimes what your messaging is. Harry and Meghan make such a big fuss about being parents, and yet they never seem to travel with their children. They're never with their children as far as we know. Yes, they're probably at the home with their kids right now. Totally fine, whatever. The problem is when your branding and messaging is constantly trying to tell us one thing and yet you never act on it, it doesn't compute. It just doesn't compute. And so I honestly don't think she's real maternal. And I think, again, some of her issues with showing her kids in public is not just because she wants to keep them quote unquote private, because I don't think that's totally the issue. Is I think she's jealous that they might get more attention than she does. And then I also think in certain situations, if the children do something she doesn't want them to do, or they're not acting in the way she wants them to act, I don't think she's particularly happy about that. That's just my thoughts. And so, but again, I don't really know. This is purely conjecture, but conjecture on the actions we see, which is someone who just doesn't seem to ever be around her kids when she leaves the front door of her house. Because anytime we've seen her papped, never with her kids, never. So obviously, as well, those photo outings are arranged because obviously she's never with her kids. But also, again, gives the impression she's never with her kids. Harry and Meghan travel pretty consistently, never with their children, pretty much. We have one confirmed sighting of the kids in Costa Rica, but they went somewhere else in the Caribbean, no kids. They went to Africa, no kids. They went to Europe, no kids. They went to Jamaica, no kids. Like, as far as we're aware, they just never seem to travel with their kids. So again, just my thought there. So we have a Diz fan giving a tip. Thank you so much. Since it's July 4th weekend, do you consider yourself a patriot or a royalist? I don't like what Harry and Meghan have done on both sides. So that's an interesting question because here in the United States, I kind of like and love that we don't have a royal family. And I think it's kind of awesome. I am someone, I would call myself a historian, maybe, in that I appreciate history, love what the royals do for history, that connection to history, that link throughout time, which is just so unique because in the United States, the president can change. Like between George Washington and Joe Biden, massive changes in who our leadership structure has been. That's not a comment on politics. That's just a comment on how things have changed within this country, both for good and bad. But when it comes to royals, I think it's wonderful and amazing to see that from William the Conqueror to King Charles III, there is this mostly unbroken line of monarchy in there. And so I kind of sort of love that. And I think that's so cool. And it's just kind of the nerd of me sort of just does really love that. And so, but I consider myself a patriot of this country. So, for example, if I was in in the United Kingdom and I was at an event and the royals were there and I was introduced, I wouldn't curtsy because they're not my monarch. They're not my sovereign. So I would not curtsy. And some people might not like that, but I just find that to be appropriate. If I lived in that country, pay taxes in that country, I probably would consider it just because obviously now they're sort of part of my leadership structure and you always want to respect your leadership structure. That doesn't mean there's complications there and I understand that, but overall, we're called to respect who the people in over us are. But for me, in being an American, that's not a royal. But I love history. I love the connection to history and royalty and the one of the things I love about royals, and this is like there's kind of four things that tickle my fancy in every way, is the history, the drama behind the scenes, the jewelry, and the fashion. Those are the four things that royals all encompass, and that's why I enjoy following royalty. So I consider myself a patriot overall, but in addition, I am also a historian, and I think being sort of a royalist or appreciating royalty is part of that. So I hope that answers your question in a way. All right, and we have Diane Edwards. Thank you so much for the super sticker. I really do appreciate it this morning. Okay, and we got Pia. Good morning, Brittany and Pippa. My first live without Beepster by my side. Oh, got sick Monday and she was gone Tuesday. She loved listening to you. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's just so sad. It's just so hard when oh, miss your pets. I will be a nervous wreck when whenever Pippa's time comes, which hopefully is many, many years down the road. It was hard to lose our dog Maverick this year. That was really hard. And I talked to Pippa about him because he would stay with us from time to time. And I go, "Do you miss Maverick? Do you miss Mavericks?" And she doesn't totally pay attention, but I could maybe say that to her in my parents' house, and she may look for him, but just so sad. Tanya, member for 11 months. Thank you so much, Tanya. Hey, good morning, Brittany and friends. Good morning, Cheryl. I'm so sorry for your loss. It's so hard to lose our pets. It is. It is. Desert Mermaid says, "Hi, Brittany. Do you think Harkles are living in Montecito? Is Meghan living separately in LA?" So this is sort of the interesting thing. And again, it's just we get differing reports, and it's been a bit since we've gotten any sort of these reports, but there was a big article from the Telegraph sometime last year, maybe around this time last year, talking about how Harry basically had a room at a hotel there in Montecito that he would go and stay in fairly frequently, which is pretty astounding considering how large Harry and Meghan's house is, that you could totally 100% live kind of separately from somebody else in that house. It's so big. And so that was sort of odd, and that she spent a lot of time in LA going and always having to hold meetings at the Beverly Hills Hotel. Now, there's nothing wrong with holding meetings at the Beverly Hills Hotel. I think people do that, of course. But for me, again, always the thing that I find that I notice about Meghan is that she's constantly trying to reach for whatever high standard she can in terms of just the flashiness of something, not the substance, the flashiness. Because you can have a fantastic meeting in a nondescript building in Los Angeles. It doesn't have to be at the Beverly Hills Hotel. You can meet anywhere and have a fantastic meeting. Meeting at the Beverly Hills Hotel means extra cost, extra money for everybody in attendance. And you do that, maybe perhaps as Meghan Markle, for the status of it, not because you actually need to meet there. So, and we do have a picture of Meghan at the Beverly Hills Hotel. Somebody saw her and got a selfie with her and everything, and totally fine. But it was like late at night. And so you got to wonder, is she commuting home? Because by the time she maybe would get home, the sun had already set in that picture. It was sort of winter time. So maybe she'd get home at 7, or she might get home at 9 or 10 o'clock at night. How much does she spend time with her kids and her husband if she was in meetings in LA all day? And again, it's kind of stupid to live in Montecito if you really want to be in LA. But again, it's Montecito to me. When I think about it, it's a sad symbol because I remember the Oprah Winfrey story about her going to Montecito, seeing this home and walking up to the front door and telling the owners or whatever. And I forgive me, I don't remember all the details of the story, but essentially offering $50 million for that home. Meghan remembers that too. That's why Meghan lives in Montecito. Not because she really wants to live in Montecito, maybe necessarily, but because she remembers the status of Oprah Winfrey going and buying the Montecito home. That's what I think attracted her to Montecito. Because if you're trying to make it in LA, why not live in LA? Yes, LA is congested and horrible, and there's a lot of, not great places, but there's a lot of, pretty solid enclaves you could live in LA, like Brentwood and stuff. And yes, you wouldn't get maybe as big a house for the money they put down, but maybe not, honestly, as well. I think the house is so big for them, and I really cannot see them surviving in that place forever. I just can't see them making that much. They're flopping out everywhere, guys. Unless ARO ends up being a massive success, and it could 100%. 100% it could be a massive success. I don't have high hopes at this point, given how abysmal the business has been managed so far. I still, what was the point of the GM campaign except to maybe raise awareness? But you already have, and you did it for a month and then it dropped. Like, we have only had one post since then. It's been a couple months now. Like, oh my, I have so many thoughts on American Riviera Orchard. Like, again, I so want like a massive, like, successful marketing person to just rip it to shreds for how bad it is, because it is truly very bad. But again, living separately in Montecito or in LA, I think is kind of somewhat possible, or at least spending a lot of time in LA and not a lot of time at home when it comes to Meghan, because all the business is done in LA. Here's the thing. And I realize I'm taking a lot of time on some of these questions this morning, so I hope you guys don't mind. But when it comes to, let's say, trying to make it in Hollywood, what you want to do is you want to be in Hollywood close to where the action is, and you go to Montecito on the weekend. You don't buy your massive home in Montecito unless you have another massive home in Los Angeles, because most of the business is done in Los Angeles. So why would you purposely set yourself with traffic and everything an hour and a half, 2 hours away? And yes, I know a lot of people in California make those commutes all the time. I know that. But it puts you at, I think, a distinct disadvantage when you could be much closer than where you are. I mean, literally to make really the trips almost kind of sort of worth it, you almost need to be helicoptering to both places all the time because that's the only way you can survive. So I just think if she's not living in LA, I think she's spending a massive amount of time in LA because they're trying to desperately to make their stuff work. Now, of course, she is filming now in Montecito with her cooking show, which could do well, it could do poorly. She's not really very authentic person. I don't think she's very creative, so I can't foresee her personally. My thought is I don't think she's good at making recipes because she's not creative. You need a element of creativity to do that, and she's just not a creative person. We've never seen any indication that she's all that creative. Even trying to go with a rosé wine is sort of kind of a something that's everybody has done before. So there's nothing unique or interesting about it. She should have gone with Tiganello because she made such a big fuss about the Tiganello and having a Tig moment. It would have been a way to connect her two brands. So if she doesn't launch Tiganello, I would think that would be a waste because to me, again, if a bunch of other celebrities already have rosé wine, what point? Like, why do you need to insert yourself in there? I think I saw somebody, one of his Sussex Squad members, go, "Oh, another black-owned wine company." I was like, I mean, sure, whatever. Doesn't matter though, unless it's good. Who cares unless it's good? Doesn't matter who the person is who owns it. Is the wine good? That's the only thing that's going to matter at the end of the day. So that'll be the question. And is she gosh, is she is she able to parlay this into something bigger? And I feel like wine is just kind of I mean, it's a huge industry, but somewhat risky too, I think. Kristen M, what for fun question. If you could have been present for any event in history, which one would it be and why? Oh gosh, that's such a hard question. Thank you so much for the tip. Mm, oh goodness. Okay, so I mean, there's a couple that comes to mind. It would have been really interesting to live in the time of Jesus. That would have been really, really interesting just to see the whole situation. But it would have been hard too, because it's like, where do you fall on the line? But meeting him would have been really, really cool in person. But I will have to say, um, just because I find this so interesting, and we don't know a lot about the dynamic between the three of them. But there's kind of I was reading this book and I found another book that was supposedly on the three of them, and I don't think the history of it was very good, so I didn't end up finishing it. But so Leonardo da Vinci, I would have loved to have met him because just to have somebody whose mind kind of works like that, kind of a maverick, he really, really wants to know, why is the grass green? He doesn't just accept that the grass is green. He wants to know why the grass is green. And like one of those people who questions just the most minutia of things in our world. I find that really, really interesting. But the thing that really fascinates me is though that Leonardo da Vinci knew, obviously, Niccolo Machiavelli, who wrote The Prince. And The Prince was based on Caesar Borgia, who was connected to one of the popes, supposedly his bastard son, but that's I read a pretty decent counter argument that that wasn't the case. And so Caesar Borgia was like trying to conquer all the city states of Italy, and because Italy was made up of city states, it wasn't one country. It was is like a group of principalities and ducals and whatever, and so and republics. And when it comes to Venice, and so he was busy and he was conquering, and he died at like 25, very young, 25, 26 of syphilis, and Machiavelli was from Florence, so Caesar was more from Rome. Um, Machiavelli was from Florence, and then Leonardo da Vinci obviously spent a lot of time in Florence too. And so the three of them traveled together for a period of time. So it would have been really interesting to meet the three of them because you have one of the guys who wrote one of the greatest like treatises on political think of his age. Like I think some people call Machiavelli like the grandfather of like political theory, kind of in a way. And then you have Leonardo da Vinci, an absolute genius, thinking of things well before, like way outside. I love people who think outside the box. Love people who think outside the box. And then you have Caesar Borgia at the same time. So these three men, very different, all traveled together at one point, but we don't really know anything about their travels together. I think they traveled together for like a year or two. And I was just like, I would just love to have interacted with the three of them and seen how they interacted because that would have been so different to me. I've been so different to me. I was just been fascinated to see. see the couple of them together. And obviously too, I mean, there's so many things. I really would love to be at every point of history for the most part. But the thing is, I don't necessarily want to live in that point of history. I would want to see things, but I was like, I don't want to actually like live there. Like I would love to again, like be in the time of Jesus in ancient Rome, but I really want to live in ancient Rome because that's just not a particularly pleasant period of history in some ways, especially this time period because it was kind of adjusting because you had the death of Julius Caesar and the rise of Augustus, and you had the conflicts. I mean, this is a little bit before Jesus's time, but you had the conflicts with obviously Cleopatra and Mark Antony, and you have kind of this changing and the growing Roman Empire as we came to know. I mean, it was kind of the heyday of the Roman Empire, but at the same time too, it was kind of very violent as well. So, but it was is an interesting time period, obviously not too long. I mean, because Jesus died somewhat in the 30s AD, 30 to 33, something to that effect. And then you had the Jewish Revolution in the 79 and the diaspora after that by Rome and stuff like that. So it's kind of the crushing. And so it's just been interesting to see that kind of critical time in history, knowing what would have happened next, I think would have been that would have been just, like, that kinda period around Jesus's ministry, so, like, 30 to 33, 36, something like that AD, all the way to kind of the Jewish Revolution would have been really interesting time period to be there, just to see those things and the changing and just kind of the spread of Christianity in the early days would have been really fascinating to see. I would have loved to see that, but it's pretty cool to be here now too, but I wouldn't wanna live in those time periods. That's the thing. That's the thing. Because it doesn't sound particularly pleasant in many ways. So we do have a Peggy Spungen says, Brittany, hey Brittany, when do you and the group leave for Scotland? Are you will be visiting Balmoral Castle? I can catch a trip next summer. So that is a great question. Unfortunately, Balmoral is just way too out of the way. We'll probably visit the Royal Yacht Britannia. We might get to the Palace of Holyrood House. But the Balmoral Castle is, I believe, in the south, like south of Edinburgh, and it's kind of hard to get to, so we wouldn't be able to do that necessarily. So that's unfortunate. I would love to do that. And if they're opening it this year and they have a great positive response, we may see more people attend. They may open it next year as well. And so it wouldn't be something where we could I don't know if we could include it on the trip. We really probably couldn't the way Trova Trip kind of works, but it'd be so cool to see. It's so cool to see. All right, so we have Blanca Elora Lara says, "Good morning, Brittany and Ms. Pippa. Terribly hot days in Arizona. High of 112 today, and later in the week a high of 116. But it's a dry heat. Hope you're all having a wonderful day, all. Yeah, I that makes yeah, dry heat is not bad, but yeah, that's hot. Water 8604 says, "Good morning, RNN family. Good morning." We have water. Also says, "Here in Maryland, where the heat is already high and thick, it hits your face when you walk outside." Yeah, I've had the times couple of times recently because it's been like uber hot. It really has. And I walk out and my sunglasses fog up and I'm like, oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. But I was really sad because I had needed replacement contacts and they came. I don't know why I'm sharing that, but I was like, my eyes get itchy and freaked out and stuff with all the stuff in the air. And so I was like really glad they came. Rich says, good morning. Greetings from Chicago all. Mitch says, morning, Brittany. Good morning. Sarah says, good morning from Louisiana, where the here makes your glasses fog up all day. Ah, I was just talking about that. That's so funny. And Mitch says, do you think Harry will accept the Tillman Award in person? Yes, because Meghan Markle wants to go to the award show. That's why they're doing it. And again, all this stuff never really, again, it doesn't really work. It just doesn't really work. It just doesn't. It doesn't work at all. To just for them to continue buying awards. It just looks terrible. It just does. Nobody believes it. Like something a Hope Award or something from the Robert F. Kennedy Foundation. Most people roll their eyes because they're like, "Oh, this is dumb." They don't offer hope. They offer division and divisiveness, and they just wanted an opportunity to, be in front of the cameras and for people to tell them how great they are. Like that's the thing, and it's so stinking Hollywood. It's so Hollywood. D-list actress Meghan Markle playbook. That is it. Joan says, "Why do you think Harry and Meghan did not make a July 4th parade appearance this year?" Maybe because they were spotted last year, maybe they're actually doing something. I don't know. I mean, we've had actually 2 years, was it 2 years in a row? One time they were at, Jackson Hole, and one time they were at the Montecito Parade. So I don't know if they were there at other times or not. And yeah, I mean, obviously, when I was talking earlier about not really seeing Harry and Meghan parent, yes, we see them out with their kids from time to time, but they're so random that, and you can't really tell anything. So it's like I can't say anything. I can't say anything about it. So Jessica Reed, from Miss Pippa from my kitties. Miss Pippa says thank you. She has I actually so because she doesn't really like to be boarded, I and she especially doesn't like doggy play groups. Not her thing. So there was a specialty dog store where we were, and so I went in and I bought her a couple of bones and then a bunch of treats because I was like, okay, I may have to bribe her because one time we had her boarded, and we were out of town at the time, and so it was almost weirder. But she was there with my sister's dog and everything, and my parents' dogs, so she had friends, quote unquote. But she was such an unhappy camper when we picked her up. We picked her up. We drove to get some breakfast because it was really early in the morning, and she literally went over and got in my sister's lap, and my sister's dog was kind of confused and came over to my side because my dog was literally giving me the cold shoulder. So yes, I appreciate that because um Miss Pippa, she does love her bones. She does love her treats. Oh, thank you. Hi, Mama Otter. Hey, how are you doing? Not sure if you covered it, but how is Princess Anne? Great to catch you live. Why, thank you. So I haven't heard too much except that she's still recovering. Apparently, one of the things we also learned is that she couldn't really remember much around the time of the incident, which isn't really surprising. I mean, what people suggest. So obviously, she didn't have someone like right around her. There was maybe somebody on the periphery somewhere, but there wasn't somebody right around her. So they didn't see the incident themselves. We just have what people suspect happened. But it seems to be that she got kicked in the head by a horse. And so obviously that can jostle your noggin a bit. And she suffered with a bit of concussion, probably, maybe black eye or, swollen cheek or whatever. It depends on where the horse hit her. But she's recovering at home. She hasn't done an engagement. So she's been out now 2 weeks. And that's very unusual for Anne. So I imagine there's probably some, swelling and stuff like that. Maybe she had to have some stitches. But I worry about that a little bit just because, an injury like that, you don't know if there could be a further consequence down the line, especially given her age. And again, like I said in my video on the Crown Report, and I think it's incredibly true. It's another example of how if you just really have a very, very slimmed down monarchy and you have a bunch of people who have to be out for whatever reason, illness, childbirth, whatever, and they're not like, what do you do? Especially because Anna is one of the most popular royals. And so all of a sudden she's out. And it's not something you can control. And there's, again, just no guarantee for tomorrow. There's no guarantee for what the future holds. But at the same time, too, you don't want to be caught so flat footed that you're basically pulling from, like the C or D list bench. Not that, any of the Gloucesters or the Kents or anything are like that, but you're pulling from such, the low ranks that people don't see that much that it kind of starts to maybe impact some of your public perception. So that's just something, again, for the monarchy to think of. But I hope Princess Anne, again, makes a full and speedy recovery and very soon because we do miss her. She does, again, the super important, maybe lower tier royal engagements. She does those with great affection, makes great connections, and they need her. And I think they need, again, as even Catherine and William step more and more into their future, they're going to need somebody to be able to do that. And so that's why I think Louis and Charlotte will be desperately needed because they'll kind of fulfill that Anne role. So we have Becky B. Happy 4th of July weekend. All yes. Nancy says good morning from Atlanta. We have Gretchen the second. Good morning for all from hot and humid Philly. And it might be ill, but I like to say the second. Lori Keen says, good morning from Texas. Water says, hope the US RNN fans had a great 4th. No sightings of the fake royals I see. No, they've been rather quiet. Again, the sighting of Meghan was literally her hidden behind another woman. So they're like, oh, she's in the white and blue striped shirt. I'm like, I can't see dilly squat. I don't know if that's her. So like, I don't care. So So anyways, yeah. Oh, and PS says, I miss her so much. She was my joy and pride, the most amazing German Shepherd in the world. Aw. I really thought at one point about getting a German Shepherd because I like the idea of the protection they offer. But I'm probably not strong enough to be as assertive in training them as I should be. And you need a German Shepherd that's, I think pretty well trained. But Pippa, though, I have been told reliably by somebody who helped, who was on a hike with her as she was being pet sit by someone, said that Pippa is a mix between a German Shepherd and a Velociraptor. So I have my own German Shepherd who weighs 8 pounds and is just a fiery bunk of spunk. But yeah, she's a sweetheart. Stacy and the Below Average Turtle says, good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. It's going to be hot in Arizona. Stay hydrated and wear sunscreen. Yes, wherever you are, wear sunscreen. Water says to Joan, Harry might be crying that no one understands that he deserves a Pat Tillman Award. Yes, because it's so obviously a way, again, for them to promote the Invictus Games. That was just obviously a promotional PR move to go, hey, ESPN, hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Look, there's Prince Harry here. Prince Harry, you should give him this award because it's the 10-year anniversary of the Invictus Games. So he needs an award to promote the Invictus. Again, I find that completely disingenuous. If you're really giving it to the Invictus Games, give it to the Invictus Games. Again, it's becoming the Harry Games. Harry has totally lost himself in this. It is becoming the Harry Games. They should just rename it that and be done with it because it's no longer about the spirit of Invictus. It's about promoting and supporting Prince Harry. So we got Rebecca, good morning. We got Tanya Black, one. Good morning, Brittany, Miss Pippa, and Arna, and Community Ohio here. We have Lady Aviator. Good morning from hot and humid North Alabama. Always looking forward to your live streams. You're a professional how you conduct your channel. Keep up the great work. Why, thank you. Thank you. Lisa says, good morning, all from Louisiana. We have Hiri. Good morning from boiling hot Japan. Oh, I want to go to Japan one day. I've always wanted to go to Japan. Always wanted to go to Japan. I actually looked at Trova trip options to the Japan if there was any that were interesting. I don't know if people would want to go there, but I just think that would be cool. Chris Cook said it. Good morning. We got Stacy again, and we got Taylor. Hello, everyone from Scotland. It's Scotland. Oh, I'm so excited to go to Scotland because it's going to be hopefully cooler. Hopefully much cooler. Hopefully we won't get the heat wave. Not that it would be bad, but sunshine would be great. Heat wave, not so much. Selena says, hi, all from Canberra, Australia. We have Janine from Hanover, Pennsylvania. We have Betty from Oklahoma. T. Leela from good afternoon from Hungary. Janice says hello from Indiana. We have Marjorie. Good afternoon from London. We have Adopt GDX. Good morning from Canada. We have Creative Chaosify said good morning or afternoon from sweltering hot Poland. Oh, awesome. I hope you enjoy. I went to Krakow, Poland, and I really enjoyed it. I really loved that city. I haven't really been anywhere else in Poland, but I enjoyed Krakow. So, for what it's worth. Enjoyed your time. And there was a little shop there that had the best like liquid hot chocolate stuff ever. It was so good. It was so good. Jane, a Bucks fan, good morning to all my friends from Tampa, Florida. We have Ms. Plow. Good morning from Memphis, Tennessee. Elizabeth says, good morning, everyone from Manitoba, Canada. Do you think Charles is considering giving Zara a title of princess, which she really wanted after saying she was happy she did not have it growing up? No, I don't think he's considering doing that. Number one, I don't think she wants it. And she doesn't really need it. She has a notable name anyways. And it really doesn't follow how titles are given out in the UK. So in order for her to have the title of a lady, which I think would have been the highest she could have achieved, because she can't get the title through her mom technically. So it would have been if her father was given a title, which he wasn't. So she doesn't have a title. So I don't think she needs one. I don't think she particularly wants one, but should maybe Charles, during the Buckingham Palace garden party, having all of his cousins there, Prince William, was that a good idea? Yes. Should he find ways to do that more? Yeah, I think he should. So that I'm totally 100% on board with it. Stacy says everyone calls Harry to do the right thing, and the honorable thing concerning the Pat Tillman Award, he left honor and correct behind when he quit being a working royal. Yes, he just left. Again, it's not because I see, Sussex SWAT people and everything. They say, well, Harry, he served 10 years in the military. And I'm like, dude, 10, I mean, let's be honest here. He didn't really and he did 2 tours of combat. I was like, he was there 10 weeks, guys. and he was kept from the front lines. The dude even admitted in his own book that the only time he recognized the cost of combat was on the plane home when he was actually faced with soldiers who had been injured in combat. That is when he realized the cost of war. So this guy did not experience much on the front lines, quote unquote. He did not experience much. And so I think it's been totally overblown. Is military service awesome? Yes. But is Harry's service record notable? No, it is not. There's nothing notable about Harry's service record except for the fact that he was a prince. Other than that, it was, I think, middling average at best. We don't have any indication he was like a star soldier or anything like that. We have no indications of that whatsoever. Like, again, he couldn't even go to officer school because he couldn't pass the tests. And so he had to basically leave because there was nothing else he could do. So, yeah, like let's be honest about it. Just because there are men who have served much longer tours of duty, got injured in combat, saw real combat, all those sorts of things. Those people deserve to be honored. Those people who are in the Invictus Games, Prince Harry was coddled the entire time. He was on the front lines, which he really wasn't. Anyways, again, I just think truth would be good here. Siba, thank you so much for the tip. Rumor Harry and Meghan will be in Australia the same time as Charles' state visit. Your thoughts, please. So if that ends up being true, again, I always want to caution everyone because there's so many rumors about what Harry and Meghan are doing. So many things that are somewhat true, false, everything in between. That I always try to be very, very cautious. But if this is the case, if they are planning to be in Australia, and that is rumor, it's just not a good look. It just looks like they're constantly competing. And again, it's the thing is like they're constantly trying to be royal. When they left that, you don't get to take your job with you. I mean, literally what Harry and Meghan are doing is they learned everything from company A. And they left company A because they weren't satisfied because they weren't getting the credit or whatever that they thought they deserved. So they went and they started competing company B with shoddier work, shoddier like public relations, like everything is a step below company A. But they recreated it because that's all they can do. Again, Meghan is bereft of ideas. Harry is bereft of ideas. They have no ideas. They can't seem to do this. They just can't seem to. I do feel sorry for them, but I mean, it's just like a pointless, tactless publicity stunt, but you don't put it past Harry and Meghan. Again, I think I did this in a video and I don't know, I incorporated it into something else, but Meghan constantly lives up to your worst expectations in many ways. Like, oh no, she wouldn't create a competing royal. Oh no, yeah, she did. Oh, Meghan wouldn't start another lifestyle blog. I mean, she's done that. But, oh no, that's what she's doing now. She's becoming an influencer again. Like she lives up to your worst expectations. Like you're somewhat surprised, but then when you think about it, you're like, well, I guess I thought that she would do that, but at the same time too, it's like you almost had higher expectations, and she always does not even remotely reach them. So it's just kind of sad, I think. Catherine says, good morning from Chattanooga, Tennessee. Good morning. The Wrong Shoe says, hello from Belfast, Northern Ireland. We have Catherine Gutierrez. Good morning, everyone from New Mexico. We have Liz E. Good morning from the currently sunny central Wisconsin. We have Selena. Hi, Brittany. Hello. We have Jessica Reed. Good morning from lovely Dane County, Wisconsin. We have Jen Stone Girl. Hello, everyone from Bath, UK. And we have a Chantal. Good morning from the Netherlands. Good morning. Tina, oh, what's going on? Will have to say, scooter story. I love, especially on the 4th of July, that William was in a scooter at Windsor Castle. But I will say I was a bit wrong with Harry on the lawsuit side. But I mean, his legal troubles are endless. But I think at the end of the day, he'll end up paying not only a good chunk of everything that he sued. So like he won't win any money and he'll end up owing money to the people he sued. So pointless. And he's deleted messages that the group newspapers are after. Apparently, he's going to owe them at least 2/3 of their legal costs already. 2/3. Like this. I mean, I want to almost feel sorry for Harry for the amount of money he's throwing down the drain. But then at the same time as well, I'm like, you did this to yourself, buddy. You did this to yourself. So, yeah. Kimberly said, good morning from Virginia. Adopt GDX said, right. tired a bit from this weekend. Said, hello, Belfast. My parents immigrated from Canada from there when I was a little kid. That's awesome. AJ Judge says, yay, Brittany. Good morning to you all from the US. Love from the UK. And we have Deborah. Good morning from Alabama. Tina, show. Yay. Okay. Laner said hello from North Carolina coast. We have Aaron who gave 2 hearts. And Caitlin said, good morning. And Stacey says, I doubt King Charles III would give his niece any title when her mother didn't think it was a good idea. She thrived more on her own without one. Yes. And she has been very, very able to do incredibly well. So Taylor says, hi, Brittany, what do you think about getting a petition to stop Harry from getting the award? Can they stop him from getting it if enough people sign it? No. Here's the thing about a campaign like that. What I think it does is send a message, but so far it seems like ESPN is doubling down. ESPN is the one who makes the final choice. Even if you sign a petition, you get 1.5 million signatures. Unfortunately, it's not going to change. That's why I don't really tend to promote boycotts or anything. It's just not something I really espouse to philosophically, because I know they've already made their choice and they're not going to change it. What it does, though, what this petition does prove, though, is that there's not, it has close to 50,000 signatures or more than that at this point. That's a significant number of people who don't like the fact that Harry is getting this award. And that does send a really, really strong message. And there might be more people, and I think there are more people who won't sign it who also disagree with Harry getting this award. And so it's just sends a message that he can do all these things, but it won't change public perception. What changes public perception is actually a great thread. Maybe I should have done a whole video on this, but you've been traveling and stuff. And this was from who I like to follow. And it's an anonymous account, and I have no issue with that because I think the information is pretty good. But they claim to be a PR representative. And so they said, and this is from, it's called Royalty. I almost am kind of bummed I didn't get that handle. It says, Invictus is Harry's most impressive and impactful project, but the reality is that if your charity work is 10% of your headlines, polo is 10%, and your lawsuits, personal drama, and failed projects are the other 80%, the public perception of your brand will shift. Harry can't show up for games every few years and do 1 or 2 other appearances to promote them and still expect the public to primarily see him as doing meaningful work for veterans. He has, by his own choices, made drama his core message. 100%. The average person is not paying close enough attention to see beyond the most salacious headlines and the repeated photos of him going in and out of courts. His brand will be he stayed in a royal residence or a hotel, not Harry taking on the tabloids. 100%. Especially because he's doing the tabloids who are making the headlines. Again, dumb idea, Harry. Well, the Pat Tillman Award is lovely. I don't give a lot of value to the SB Awards in terms of raising public awareness. Harry has actually strangely effectively gained press for the award, but at the cost of seeing his personal brand described as divisive and controversial. And that is a direct quote from Pat Tillman's mother. This must have been a sobering week for him and his team to see how the criticism was reported on widely in mainstream media. It will certainly make future partners reassess working with him. I've said this for years, but doing real charity work should be his focus. And I agree with that. The Invictus Games is a publicity stunt now. Harry has made it a publicity stunt. And the other thing too, though, is that he wants to do charity work, but charity work doesn't pay. And Harry and Meghan desperately need somebody to pay their bills. And they can't seem to do anything else. Like literally the best thing he was most qualified for was being a royal. Meghan took away the one thing the dude was qualified to do. And he was good at it. He was good at being a royal. And yes, I know people complain about some of his behavior after he met Meghan, but the guy is personable. He's affable. People enjoy being around him most of the time when he's not with her. And so I think he made for a great royal. But since getting with him, he's gone down this horrible path that is not going to gain him any points at the end of the day. And again, his lawsuits, personal drama, and failed projects are 80% of the public perception of him. And that is 100% true. Nobody gives a crap about the Invictus Games anymore. And nobody really gives a crap about polo. And so his headlines are all about his drama, Meghan, all these sorts of things. And that's not helping him in the slightest. And so, yes, I think signing the petition, I think it does send a really, really strong message. But but ESPN won't change their minds, I don't think. But the thing is that his public perception is in the toilet. And again, this type of stunt does nothing to help him. It does nothing in the world to help Harry at this point. Should maybe do a whole analysis on this thread because I think it's really good. Because again, the problem with Harry in this situation is that he's no longer royal, and yet he's pretending to be royal. And so he got paid for being a royal because he was a royal. He got money from Charles. Harry and Meghan's office was funded by the sovereign grant and some of it Charles as well. Those sorts of things. And so they got paid for doing the charity work Harry loves to do. But now he can't get paid just to do that anymore. So he has to do other things. The unfortunate thing is that in order to sell their brand to America, Meghan convinced Harry to, basically poop all over his family. And guess what? That doesn't help you. That doesn't help you at the end of the day. Sure, you get headlines. Sure, you can make some money. But do people like you? No. No, they don't like you. So I think that was an excellent thread. So and I like the account. Doesn't post much, but when they have something to say, it's usually pretty good. Caroline says, hi, everyone from chilly winter's night in Perth. We have Kimberly as well. Good morning, everyone. Hey, Brittany. Hello. Jamie says, good morning from Virginia. We got Laura. Good morning from sunny Moab, Utah. And we have Elaine. Hi, Brittany. Even though Harry will accept the Tillman Award, the award will always be tainted with so many people complaining against it. Yes, 100% yes. It will never be. Yeah, it's not a good look. We have Terry, good morning, everyone. And we have Cheryl. Don't forget to hit like. Yes, I always forget to say that. And Stacy says tabloid photos are a dime a dozen. It's too late, baby. Your public image is not looking good, nor are you highly valued anymore. No. And so the best thing you can do is like go away. Go away for a while. Reassess your brand and come back with like a business. Like Harry and Meghan constantly jump from thing to thing. I don't even know what Archwell stands for. No idea. No idea. It's all their marketing and branding is terrible. All their messaging is terrible. And so it just doesn't work. And their fans who are sycophantic just love all of it, but they don't care about the inconsistencies. And so it's like there's a lot of inconsistencies. So we have Sarah Huba Vickers, historian on the Sun, said that Harry is not only afraid of losing Meghan, but of Meghan herself. And also she orchestrated Charles walking her down the aisle due to her feud with her dad. Yeah, I could see Harry. I think sometimes Harry loves the idea of who he thought Meghan was, not really Meghan herself in a way. He loves the idea of who he thinks she is, not who she really is. And he is afraid of losing her. Also, as well, too, she's all he has. She has orchestrated their lives, so she is all he has. All his friends are hers. All his quote unquote family is hers because he has no relationship with his family. She has separated him from his friends, his country. She has moved him halfway across the world. And if he leaves her, and they get a divorce, then they have to figure out how to shuffle their kids between two continents. He might have to stay in California where he doesn't have friends, he doesn't have family, he doesn't have a support system because everything is her. Again, reverse the sexes of this relationship. Nobody in the world could tell me that this is a healthy dynamic. Nobody in the world can tell me that. There is no healthy dynamic where somebody separates you from your entire friends and family, separates you geographically from your country. You don't even go there that often anymore. You have a terrible relationship with your parents, your siblings, everything, extended family, all that. Nobody can tell me in the world that this was a healthy relationship. Nobody can tell me that. I'm totally not moved by that at all. But yet Sussex Squad continue to tell me they had the best relationship ever. I'm like, I really don't think so. NAA says your voice and video do not match. It's not nice to see. I can't really help that, to be honest. There may be a setting or something where I can maybe do a delay. I don't think so. So this is though, it gives me a really nice mic though. So yeah, I can't really do it on the delay, unfortunately. So I'm sorry. We have Pat. Good morning, everyone from Maine. Good morning. We have Neely. Good morning, Brittany, Miss Pippa, and everyone. Hello. We have Joni. Good morning from Central Indiana. We have Marnie. Good morning from rainy Massachusetts. Hope everyone had a fantastic Independence Day. Oh, Pat says her voice and video are perfectly synchronized. Oh, awesome. So I guess it depends. Maybe your internet's not going great. I don't know. I sometimes see when I can see myself on the screen, it seems like the voice and audio are a little not totally on track. But M. Matthew says stunned Prince Harry's lawyers are allowed him, barely past high school, to review papers and destroy them as he saw fit. Yeah, yeah, kind of a dumb idea. But again, guess what? The lawyers get paid either way. They get paid whether Harry wins or loses. That's what's dumb about this scenario in terms of Harry. Harry, like, you almost want to kind of shake Harry and go, the only people making money from this are your lawyers. You're not, it's not going to change anything when it comes to your wife. It's not going to change anything when it comes to your mom. You're not really going to win anything at the end of the day, bud. The only these people winning in this scenario are your lawyers. Think about that. Think about that. Lawyers, I mean, I know there are lawyers who probably listen to the stream and stuff. Lawyers have a great job, but I think in this situation, Harry's just kind of sort of being taken advantage of, to be honest. That's just my personal opinion. We have Butterbugs Baked Good says, good morning, y'all, from hot and muggy Asheville, North Carolina. Bonnie says, Brittany, you look lovely this morning. Why, thank you. I did my makeup this morning. My hair wasn't looking great. And yeah, so Foster said, good morning, everyone from Minneapolis, Minnesota. And Kimberly said, this American soldier's wife is livid about Harry getting the Pat Tillman Award. Yes. And I've said this before too. If you're not an American and you didn't remember that early, the early part of our wars again at Afghanistan and Iraq and Pat Tillman story. I was in high school and I remember the Pat Tillman story 100%. I remember his name. I remember the story. I had to look it up to make sure I got some information right, because I was pretty sure he died in Afghanistan, and I said that, and then I saw somebody said he died in Iraq. He did die in Afghanistan, and it was a friendly fire incident, and they tried to cover it up for a while. I remember all those things, and so it's just such a huge, it's such an important figure, and so to give him an award named after Pat Tillman, if it was an award and we didn't really know who the person was, I think that might have gone over better, to be honest. And I know that sounds maybe not great, but if we didn't know him, it wouldn't really matter. But that we all remember who Pat Tillman, at least if you're from that early 2000s times period, where you remember the Pat Tillman story. You remember the Pat Tillman story. It just doesn't rub you right at all. It doesn't rub you right. That sounded weird. So, Dinsband9212 asks, thank you so much for the tip. Do you think if Harry divorces Meghan and moves back that he will live the life that of his Uncle Andrew under the roof of his father or his brother? Oh, maybe. It's just hard to tell at this point what Harry will do. Because here's the thing, too. Harry, I think, does have a redemption arc coming. He can totally redeem himself. Totally and completely redeem himself. What he has to do, which is going to be hard. I get it. It's going to be hard. But what he can do is literally say that he was completely and totally, that his wife lied to him. I mean, that is one of his routes out, is to say, I was lied to and manipulated, and I was told things that I found out later weren't true, and I made these decisions, and I deeply regret them. I feel so sorry for the people I misled or anything. That Harry has a route back that way. He really does. I think he does. So I think he's in better shape than Andrew. Now, while obviously Andrew hasn't, you could say pooped all over the family like Harry has, and Meghan trying to basically undermine Charles's rule and Queen Elizabeth's rule, which is what Harry and Meghan tried to do in so many ways. Andrew didn't do that, but he was basically cavorting with a criminal. And there are some very, very salacious allegations about his relationship with a girl who I don't think technically, according to the laws, was legally underage, but obviously it looks really, really bad. Looks really, really bad. I think he overpaid her to kind of make this case go away. But still, that case is bad news. And so Andrew's just kind of scuzzy, and so nobody really wants to see him back. And he's had that reputation for a long time. It wasn't just the Epstein stuff and everything. It was other things too. But when it comes to Harry, again, I think he does have a route back but he has to apologize, which also Andrew hasn't done. Andrew may have a route back too, but he has to do a lot of groveling. And I think he's too arrogant for that. I think Harry could be convinced to grovel and say his apologies. Say that I don't think it's necessarily bad for him to say, I do feel some of what I shared in Spare, in interviews and stuff like that. But I was told by my wife that this was a good idea, that we needed to do this, that if I do this, my family will change. And it just made everything worse. I was manipulated. I was lied to. I think if he goes that route, I think he has a future. I think he has a future. So I don't think he is as in bad shape as Andrew, for sure. But he will have to acknowledge that, which is really hard, I think, especially for men, we can say is very, very hard. Acknowledge that he was completely wrong and that everybody in his life was right. Everybody told him Meghan was bad news. Everyone told him Meghan was a bad idea. Everyone. All his friends, all his family, nobody liked her. Nobody liked her. And he did it anyways, despite what they said. And he was convinced, I think, by Meghan that all had to do with race, not her individually, her race. And so he is masking this. He's protector, he's fighting against racism and stuff like that. He is doing all this stuff in his mind, and he's not looking at the reality of the situation, which is that it had nothing to do with her race and everything to do with her personality. Nobody liked her. Nobody liked her. And everybody was suspect of her except Harry. And so he has to acknowledge a lot of his wrongdoing, which again, he has failed to do so. Him and Meghan have failed in every single interview to take any responsibility for their decisions. And they've created the conundrum too. It takes two to tango. It takes two. So yeah. Mama Otter. Oh, thank you so much for the tip. Be careful what you wish for. With time to think, who knows what the scent of candles will come up with for American Riviera Orchard. Scary. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine she'd come up with like a scent for like Buckingham Palace and be like mold or something? I don't know. Cause yeah. Oh gosh. That is a scary thought. That is a very scary thought, I do have to admit. Cause yeah, Meghan, oh, she might come up with something. I mean, again, she like, because we're obviously referencing Gwyneth Paltrow's and her candle that she says smells like my vagina. I was like, I don't know. Why would you say that? Why would you even make a candle that smells? To each their own, I guess. It probably sold fairly well. So what can I say? Gwyneth Paltrow's a multimillionaire and I'm not. But Meghan just doesn't, I don't think, have that ability. Really. And again, I think one of Megan's biggest crutches is that she's so contrived that she lacks this air of authenticity. Because Gwyneth kind of relishes in her life as a award-winning actress who's made multi-million dollars. Like that is a huge part of her presence in like the luxury field or whatever with Goop is like, yeah, I made $1 million. Who do you like? Why do you care? I made $1 million. Like, I'm walking around my mansion in my my Louboutins and, walking around in this Amelia Wickstead dress, showing off this like I'm pretty sure it was Amelia Wickstead dress, very cute dress, and she's showing off this place. Or maybe it was Gambit's Bossy or whatever. Anyways. Um and I'm not pronouncing that brand name correctly. Anyways, so Gwyneth, I think, has that ability to kind of poke fun of herself because the one thing we haven't really seen Meghan do totally is poke fun at herself, except for in really contrived ways. Because like the whole Ellen DeGeneres thing, she wasn't poking fun at herself. She was literally being the court jester. She was literally being made to play the fool, and that's in a way, it's not funny. It's not funny because it's not really entertaining. Like you're not like Meghan is so desperate for people in Hollywood to take her seriously. She will literally like just come at them begging on their knees and do whatever they tell her to do, even squat on camera for no discernible reason. Meghan is somebody who at the time, especially when she did the Ellen DeGeneres show, could have come up and been somebody like if I was given that skit personally, I would have gone, no, that just seems dumb. And the thing too is Ellen DeGeneres has kind of a mean spirit in some of her pranks and stuff. And so you see that there with Meghan. Like Ellen DeGeneres is sitting there going, this woman who calls herself a duchess, she's willing to squat on cue, drink milk from a bottle, and put a crystal to her head because I told her to, because she smelled the desperation. She didn't have enough, Meghan didn't have enough clout or um vision of herself to go, no, I'm not doing that kind of thing. I'm a royal. Now, granted, again, when you leave the UK, you're not as much of a royal anymore. But at that point, and especially that was before pretty much her brand went in the toilet, totally, that she could have had the clout to go, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And she just can't seem to do that. So, anyways, it's interesting. We'll see what American Riviera Orchard comes up with at some point. Jenny says Harry will have Meghan um morning break-ish scent candle. Morning break-ish candle will smell of old weed and stale tequila. Oh, Janine, thank you so much for the tip. Yeah. Or whatever the hallucinogenics Harry takes. You could brand the candle. Take this candle, smell it as the flames and scent, and you will imagine and dream of your dead relatives. That is, that could definitely be Alushka or something. I can't remember quite what it is, but man alive. Goodness gracious, it's me. They are a mess. They are a mess. Okay. Ritz says they both need to learn the definition of work and actually do some. Yes, yes, 100%. Selena says, I haven't caught your live in forever. Loving the channel. Thank you. The wrong shoe says, I think Meghan keeps the children hidden so that her father never gets to see or get a screenshot of them for his wall. I don't really think she cares that much about him, to be quite honest. Like, I think, obviously there's some hurt there, but honestly, too, she just seems to drop people. And when she drops them, you are like dead to her. You are dead to her. And like think of Jessica Mulroney. That woman was seated in the front row across from King Charles at Meghan Markle's wedding. And as far as we're aware, Meghan does not speak to Jessica Mulroney anymore. Like she was so close that she literally sat in the front pew at that church, and you dropped her over this kind of dumb social media spat. It's like Meghan dumps people when they're no longer convenient, and I don't really think she cares. I don't really think she cares if her dad has pictures of the kids or not. She just again, it's more about she doesn't want the kids to get a lot more attention than she will because trust me, they do. Seba says, "We Americans love royals, but we love them across the pond, not here." 100%. Marjorie says, "I sure there will be an ARO product placement in her cooking show. It's her last chance." Yeah, and which is kind of lame. It's kind of lame. And again, why even launch the brand until the show is ready to go? I mean, I think the show will debut this year just because it shouldn't take that long to edit something like that. The question is, will it be any good? That I don't know. Nanette says, "Good morning from Mustang, Oklahoma. Chloe and Stella sends greetings to Miss Pippo." I thank you. I just we'll have to give her so many kisses when we're done. Neely says Harry needs to step down from accepting the Pat Tillman Award, but I'm sure he won't. Like he could sort of salvage it by bringing up a big group of Invictus Games competitors and having them speak. If he goes up there himself and speaks, again, he looks terrible. Sheila says, I don't see how they have any money. They're always paying for articles written about them and for people to go out and for cheer for them. Yeah. I mean, and that's where I think most of Meghan Markle's money went overall is the endless, like, she just threw money after money after money into PR. And that's what her and Harry are doing now. And so I think it is definitely, I think at some point it'll start to run dry because they got an expensive home to upkeep. Expensive. And I don't know. I don't know. Larry D says, isn't it about time for King Charles is held accountable for his traitor son action in our country? He sent them here and he got them out of his country. Well, Charles can't really take away his titles. So I understand why Charles can't do that much. And obviously, too, we just had an election and everything. And it really has to be a parliament's job to move things in that direction. So, yeah. Tanya says, it looks like you had the same Brita bottle. I do. I love it. Filtered water is the best. Yes, I do. I do actually really love this. Um, and it's awesome. It's awesome. And I love having a water bottle nearby. I travel. I always go everywhere with a water bottle pretty much. And Matthew says, hi, Brittany, Miss Pippa. Is this Harry who always was that he did change with the connection or Meghan? Any chance he will decide to deflect the SB to the organization? Again, he can salvage this award situation in disaster by having competitors up there and having them speak instead of himself. But when it comes to was Harry always this way or did he change with Meghan? Here's the thing. I think Harry always harbored some of these sentiments before Meghan. But I think what happened was she magnified all his worst thoughts and feelings. She magnified all of them. Told him all of them were like, you need to talk about them and everything. And it just kind of went a mess. It kind of went awry. So that's what I think. Truth Washer said, "Good morning, Brittany, and all from rainy, bipolar weather in NYC. Yes, we got creatively chaosified. Do you think Megan's cooking show will ever see the light of day? Yes, yes, I do think it will. Netflix wants its pound of flesh, and the more they can get out of Harry and Meghan, I mean, I still don't think Harry and Meghan will get near the full payout that they could have gotten if they were half decent producers and creatives. They might have gotten more, but I don't think they will." Um, Mary says King Charles III should tell Harry he can stay in well-guarded castle known as the Tower. Marnie says all press is not good press. Even to look at the new book about the Kennedy men and how they treat their wives. Even JFK Jr. is exposed. Yeah, it's just not all press is good press anymore. Because, and again, I watch a lot of guys who talk about Hollywood and kind of nerd culture and stuff. And I think this is true because of the advent of social media and that news proliferation is everywhere. When you do have a negative headline, it does tend to go awry. Oh, did you? I don't know if you guys heard, but someone wants to make an appearance. So hold on just one quick second here. Hold on. Oh, do you want to make an appearance? Do you want to make an appearance? All right. Well, hi. Hi. Oh, there we go. Hey, Miss. Ugh. Just looked right. She just looked right in my mouth, guys. She is wicked fast with her little tongue. So say hello to Miss Pippa, everyone. Say hi. You want to look over there? Look, they're over here. They're over here. You see? Oh, there we go. Oh. Yeah, she was tired yesterday. She was tired. She was tired. Stacy says, I thought the towers were made into apartments as they are costly to buy from £1,000,000 up. So some of the Yod wardens who help, they're like kind of retired military officers. They can actually stay in the tower. So there are people who live in the Tower of London, but they don't live in like the Whitehall Tower, stuff like that. Sharon says, did you hear Meghan is being sued over that coffee she is involved with having lead in it? I don't think she is being sued. I don't think that's quite right. But I think the company did have to deal with something, but I think they're okay. At least I read an article about it this week. Diane Edwards says, I think I've been a member for 6 months. Yay! Miss Pippa says, yay! Yay! Oh, thank you. Thank you, baby girl. She has to stand at the top of the stairs because somebody has been naughty. And so we had to minimize naughtiness. Ruby says, can't remember who, but somebody pointed out that Harry's beloved nanny was called Tiggy. Yes, yes. Ritz says, everything with Meghan is an attention grab. Nothing is ever thought out or has any substance. And as usual, nothing and never delivers on anything. 100%. Truth Watcher says, question, Brittany, I was reading an article yesterday from Kakalist. It's an economic magazine in Israel. They're discussing the economic fall of ex-royal. They refer to him as ex-royal, Prince Harry. Oh, that's funny. Fong. Oh, yeah. I think somebody mentioned this last week, which was really interesting. Oh, and we have Fong Lu Ong. Okay, I'm going to write it down. I'm going to write it down this time. So that way I can keep it by my computer. Okay, cool. I will keep it by my computer. I'm like my Post-it pad. I missed my Post-it pad. Miss Pip, are you okay? She's not moving things. I thought she was moving things. And I'm like, Lily says, good morning, Brittany. Hope you and Miss Pippa are well. Harry's behavior, his arrogance utterly disgusts me. It seems like there are no limits to how he is prepared to go. Zero self-reflection. Yes. And again, he's following the Meghan Markle playbook. He's 100% following the Meghan Markle playbook, which is just endless self-promotion. And then something will end up in the way you want to. And it just never works. Maria says, Brittany, do you think Harry cries all day, every day? He was a prince, treated better than anyone can imagine. Now he's a nobody. He must be horrified about what he has done. Not quite, but I imagine the stress is that he was told, let's do all this, Harry. It's going to be great. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be fantastic. We're going to be amazingly successful. And then it's kind of been a crapshoot. And I think that's been a lot of struggle. Chris says Scotland can be wet in the summer. I got married in the Highlands. It was only 15 degrees. Wow. But honestly, I'm like really looking forward to that because it's been like just sunny and miserably hot here, like sunny and miserably hot. Louise says, which royals do you think we'll see at the Olympics later this year? And what do you think about Frederick and Mary's trip to Greenland? So I haven't been able to, I've been watching some pictures come through for Harriet, Meghan, sorry, Frederick and Mary's trip. And I think it's fantastic. The views look amazing and incredible. I think it's about a week trip. They're on the Danborg, which is the royal yacht of Denmark. So I'm super excited. It's been wonderful. And when the Royals Olympics, I think we'll see probably a lot of them, to be honest. It's so easy to get to France that it'll be pretty easy for them. Now, if it was somewhere else, like in the Los Angeles, maybe a bit different. But I imagine we'll see most of the monarchs of Europe there, or even some of the members of the family. We saw a lot of the Brits there for the London Olympics there a couple of years ago. So I think we'll see a decent amount. What do you think, Miss Pippa? Do you think so, Miss Pippa? Aw. There we go. You gonna help me? Okay. Personally, I think there's a problem with the children that they could have had them out for publicly. Could it be their eyes? No, I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that. Ah, Sharon says Princess Anne is 17th in line. Yes, great catch. Thank you. And she started off, I guess she technically started off. Yeah, well, she technically, when she was born, she started off at 3, then she became 2, and now she's 17th. Just reality of royal life, guys. Do you think Meghan is living in Montecito? What about her being spotted in LA? That's a long way to go for a walk. I mentioned this earlier. I think she definitely does spend a lot of time in LA. And again, why would you live in why would you buy a massive house in Montecito when all the business is done in LA? It doesn't make a ton of sense, to be honest. Still doesn't. Um, Oh, this is an interesting question. So, Sarah says, is poverty a relatively new historical concept? I don't know about the West, but my community in Kenya, pre colonialism, it was unheard of. Land belonged to the community, everything was shared. Yes, I mean, poverty has always been a concept. And I mean, there's nothing new under the sun. And so, it's 100% true that there's always been poverty that has existed. I think maybe in some smaller communities that was not quite as common because you could live within a relatively like in a very very small community. I think you could share everything pretty readily and those sorts of things. But once you start getting into as populations get more and more developed, there is a class difference that does develop as well. And so there is it is easier to develop poverty, and especially I would say, I'm thinking more of like kind of like the Middle East, particularly, kind of in, when you're talking about like Sumeria and Egypt and those sorts of things, and Israel and Greece and Rome. There was poverty that existed in all those places. And I think poverty is somewhat the result of growing like a growing culture. I think that's somewhat, I mean, I don't really have any particular examples, but I can see the difference between, because I mean, I've seen impoverished communities. I would call them impoverished communities in Africa, but if they are able to cultivate the land and they're able to barter and sell, and they don't really, I was in, I think, Karamoja or something, and they don't really go much outside their community, then by any stretch of the imagination, to most people, they would be considered, fairly wealthy, or at least stable in that way. They wouldn't be considered like impoverished. But once you have cities and it's land becomes more expensive and harder to come by, it becomes more difficult to manage those sorts of things because, to have land, it costs money. To cultivate land costs money. And so there are different mechanisms, but like in terms of like the idea of poverty has always existed and those sorts of things. There's just certain things that are just indicative of, life. And maybe pre-colonialism, it might not have been that unheard of, but it depends too. I was at a conference and it was an interesting concept that one of the people shared, which is that in certain communities in Africa, they were particularly speaking about South Sudanese communities because there was no written records before the Europeans arrived. There was no way to actually track, what happened with this group of people. Like, they essentially started, even though they had been around for centuries, they essentially started in, maybe the 1850s, 1800s, whenever the first Europeans came by, because the first Europeans wrote actual records. And so the only way that this particular individual, who was like an anthropologist, I believe, of some sort, The only way he could track like what happened within the community is the names people would give their children, because they'd give their children that reflected a time of war, a time of surplus, a time of, let's say, drought, or an inability to cultivate food, something like that. So the names, and so like the oral records, the names they would tell would indicate what happened in the community at that particular time. That's not like a fully accurate record. But again, too, if that's true about maybe perhaps that could be true about your community. And at some point, yes, most of the time things were great, but there could also be time periods that might not be aware of because just people didn't always write things down. So that's something to consider as well. I mean, obviously in the West, we wrote things down quite a bit. Started with first written language was cuneiform, which is you'll see it if you go to the British Museum and you see the Slamzas or something. I can't remember what they're called now, but there's some of the statues there. They're the winged humans that kind of look like sphinxes but are not, and they represent the oh gosh, which culture is that now? I'm Assyrian, and you can actually see on the statues that they're using cuneiform, which is kind of lines and triangles. Is kind of the language, and so that's as far back as, so you're talking about. I think is that language started in Sumeria. So you're talking about like Iraqi area, or what we would call Iraqi area now. And so if people didn't always write things down, it might have existed, but you just might not know it. So I don't know. But yes, there has always been poverty, but I would say poverty increased when cities started to develop, land became more expensive, and it was harder. And you do start to get this sort of this wealth gap that does develop. And you are always called to help people 100%. But there's just certain things, if somebody doesn't want to work, what can you do? You can help them the best you can, but there's some things that can't be helped either. So that's at least my thought. Anyways. Susie says, greetings from North Yorkshire. Woof woof to Miss Pippa from Forest. Fab to be back after a few weeks of stuff. I missed Brittany and crew. Yes, we have Mrs. Palmer. I don't think the children have the photographic appearance to brand. Why possibly she hides them? Nah, I don't think so. I think the kids are fine. Kids are kids, to be honest. Kids are kids. But yeah. So Manu says, I feel like there are another set of parents that are parenting the two kids named Archie and Lily. Not two parents in terms of like that they're renting the kids. I don't particularly care for that rumor. But I do think there are probably nannies that are doing a fair amount of the parenting, I would guess. But again, I don't know for sure. But again, I don't really ever see them with their kids except for a few smattering appearances every once in a while. Basha says, good morning, Brittany. I also think the children probably look like the Markles, not like Diana. I think she would. She had a kid that really, really looked like Diana. I think that she'd be really excited about that. But I will say too, when kids are younger, between younger and adults, like when I was a kid, people told me all the time I looked like my dad. Now I look exactly like my mom. Those who are going on the Scotland trip, you will see my mom. We look exactly alike. Not exactly, but we look very, very similar. My sister and my dad, especially childhood pictures of my sister looks just alike. So it's kind of funny, but we were told the opposite. My sister was told that when she was younger that she looked like my mom. I was told I looked like my dad. As we've grown up, obviously we realized I really look like my mom and she really looks like dad. So, but I have my dad's personality more, and my sister has my mom's personality. So. Becky says, patriot and patriotic here, but love royalty and would not curtsy. Yes. Because again, they're not my sovereign royals or whatever. Sean says that Brittany, we see the Jam Biscuits Duchess and her Harry South Park laughing stock in America. Everything we see this as British living in America. Yes. So we have Margaret. Good afternoon, Brittany, Miss Pippa, and everyone from rainy Worcester, UK. Harry and his wife are so annoying. They want the privileges, but don't want to pay for them and sharing with their children. Yes. So Pat says the children could be the product of his sperm and her eggs and be their children genetically, but still been gestated by a surrogate. That's always possible. I just don't particularly buy the surrogacy rumors. And part of it is that Meghan Markle did gain quite a bit of weight with both the kids and really struggled to lose it. And Meghan Markle's narcissistic enough to not want that to happen. She would want to look exactly like Catherine did after Catherine gave birth. Meghan couldn't do it. Meghan was even carrying a bit of weight around for quite a bit afterwards, and it's there's some rumors she may have taken Ozempic. I'm not saying yes or no, but could be entirely possible. And yeah. Janine says, "Good morning, Brittany and Miss Pippa. Do you know if there's any truth to the story out there that Harry and Meghan have reached out to Charles to help promoting American Riviera Orchard?" I don't think so. I wouldn't put any credit. I wouldn't put any credibility on those rumors, to be quite honest. I don't think there's any truth to those, because it just doesn't make a ton of sense. Jenny says, "I don't understand how Netflix thinks Meghan's cooking lifestyle show will draw any viewers when the sound of her voice is like nails on a chalkboard. She doesn't have a likable personality." Oh, they know that. They do know that. But they need anything. They need anything from this couple. They're paying them a gadzooks worth of money, and they're like, "We need something from you guys." And so it's like a cookie show. They're like, "Sure, whatever." And they're also cheap to produce, to be honest, too. That's the other thing. Stephanie says, "Why should American curtsy? And no one would expect them to bow or curtsy. I'm a subject of King Charles from one of the realms, Australia, so I would definitely curtsy myself, though. Yes, but some people, I think, because I think um like I was talking about Travis Kelsey talking about how maybe he needed to bow or something, and I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I don't know. P.S. says, "Thank you, Brittany. You made my eyes tear up." Oh, yeah. I'm so sorry for your sweet, sweet pup. It's just so hard too when they seem to go so suddenly. Because our Maverick boy, he wasn't feeling well. But he just kind of like he went into the vet and they're like, "There's this massive tumor and it's like everywhere." And yeah, there's not much we can do. And I'm like, oh, you're just not expecting that. It's just hard. And they're just right by you all the time. It's weird when they're not by you. Ruby Rose says that Montecito has the most expensive real estate in the whole U.S. Yes, so they might have gotten a bigger house, but they also would have been closer to their neighbors. And I think privacy, and security. We must be protected. So Pat Kloss says, "I would absolutely curtsy to any real royals, but out of respect, not because we technically have to." Yes, I think it's to each their own. I think to each their own. That's kind of been my personal philosophy on it. Ritsuko says, "Love your video on the Japanese emperor's visit and tiara." Why, thank you. It's such a pretty crystal tiara. I'm glad she wore the chrysanthemum. I think that was an excellent choice by her for sure. Although I do want to see the Meiji tiara, but with the stars. I'm interested in that. Stacy says, they are family poor. They are emotionally poor. They are only concerned with themselves, cutting the family and ties that would hinder Rachel's storyline of how she wants to be seen." Yes. Truth Watcher says, Brittany, weird thing. Scobie is MIA. He didn't even tweet about ARO. He didn't even get a jar jam. LOL. Yeah, they kind of kicked him to the curb at some point. But he kind of like tarnished his own reputation. Again, it's not just that the names of the alleged royal racists leaked via Omid Scobie's drafts. It's his attempt to backtrack and not admit that they were in a draft. Like at one point, I think he was trying to say, "Well, I don't know how they got the names. The names were never in a draft." Like, well, clearly, buddy, they were in a draft. So you lied. Like you can't consistently lie like that. But we've not to, I hate to get political on here because that's not the point, but I think we've all seen, and perhaps in the last couple of weeks, that our media establishment is fully content to lie to us when it suits their agenda. And Scobie is a great example of that. He rails against, the transparency in the media, the importance of the media, and then he flat out lies. Well, buddy, that's the reason why people don't trust you or the media, is because people like you lie when it's convenient for you. I try I just don't really do that. I don't really do that. I don't believe in that. I try to be truthful. That's why, even though some people don't like it when I criticize Catherine and William, I feel like it's an obligation to do it. Why? Because you need to do it. I think it has an air of authenticity. You can disagree with it, but I hope people agree with the notion that there is something important and great to see somebody who is not just saying, "Oh, they're the great, they can never do anything wrong," when there could be cases where they do something wrong. So I think that is my personal perception of it. Asma says, "Did Meghan ever learn money management?" Probably not. Again, I think all of her money from Suits went into Sunshine Sacks. I think it all went into Sunshine Sacks because she didn't want to do the work. So she paid them a gadzooks worth of money to promote her up the wazoo. And yeah, some would have worked, but some would it didn't because he didn't put the work in behind it. Ms. Palmer says, "Do you think ARO Netflix cooking show is all a distraction? The millions missing, laundering 100 times the monies, Russian bops, now emails destroyed. Is MI5 investigating them now?" No, I don't think it gets that far. Meghan and Harry, this is not like a grand conspiracy, guys. She just wants attention, and she does anything she can do to achieve it. And sometimes she looks a little silly in the process. That's just kind of how this works. I don't think it's this grand conspiracy. I kind of hate conspiracy theories overall. I just kind of hate them. My philosophy is too, especially sometimes, is that usually the simplest answer is usually the truthful answer. And I think the thing is that they're desperate to try to turn a buck and keep this Netflix deal. And so they're gonna think of whatever they can to make it work. And Meghan, we have heard from forever that Meghan wanted a lifestyle brand. She had a lifestyle brand before. So we know that she's interested in that. So that none of that is distraction. Obviously, we know that they have a strong connection to the Sussex squad. All these things that we kind of sort of know. And it's all based around her desperate need for attention and validation. That's what it's based around. So we all know that. That's not a big surprise. But what and like again, they just want the money from the next one. They just want to keep the Netflix deal going because that's their last big paycheck coming in, to be honest, unless they have another book in the works or something. Book in the works could be their last big thing. Other than that, they have nothing. They've shared all their royal stories. They have nothing else to share. Omid Scobie, kind of trumped Meghan by announcing who the alleged royal racist is. Meghan could go into more detail about it, but honestly, didn't really hurt Catherine or William that much, except for make Harry and Meghan's fans get all up in arms. But other for Catherine and William, it just didn't do much for them. So it's just like they don't really have any other cards to play at this point because they stayed in too short to get any good dirt. That's kind of the irony here is that if they stayed longer, she might have more dirt to share. And so, yeah. So I just don't even think they have more. They have that more to play. And so I think they're just desperate people, desperate to keep the money train rolling as long as they can until basically somebody finds out that they're a fraud kind of thing. I can't remember, I don't know. There's probably a show or story or something that represents that. I'm not thinking of it. But anyways, and what I will say too about conspiracy theories is that I don't subscribe to them generally because I feel like sometimes people put their whole public reputation on X conspiracy theory. And if you turn out to be wrong, even if you said other things in the lead up to it that were right, people are going to dismiss you outright because you put your whole reputation, or at least a good chunk of your time, on a conspiracy theory that never turned out to be true. So that's kind of there's somebody in the media doing it right now, and I feel like if they say their name, it'll get political, and that's not my point. But yeah. Her Majesty the Queen said, "I watched a video of a copyright lawyer digging into ARO patents, and there's not one for any type of wine." Interesting. Interesting. So it could be cool. It could be not. It all depends. But yeah, it's who knows. Well, and that's a kind of dumb thing too. She should have had all this in a row before launching the social media site, telling us she was going to do a cooking show. All of this should have been in order. And in fact, if she was smart, she wouldn't even announce a cooking show technically. She'd leave it a mystery until it was announced because now we're all talking about it and nobody's talking about it positively. Shaylar says it's a Tillman Award supposed to be tonight. I don't know when the FC are. I think they were the 6th or something. July 11th. July 11th. So you got a big things. Sorry, I saw a comment and it made me laugh, but I don't want to share it because I try to be respectful on the things I put up. Marcus says, "Love your knowledge of history. It is fascinating." Why, thank you. I really want to do a history channel. Honestly, really do. But I always feel the burden to do so much research and to read different sources and determine for myself what I think is true or not. Kind of like the Borgia situation. The common theory is that the Pope Alexander had a couple bastard children, called the Borgias, like Lucrezia and Caesar and stuff. And that's kind of the general notion. But I read this book and I was pretty convinced that, geographically it just couldn't have happened. And so they were they were basically his nephew and niece. And there were a couple more, but the Lucrezia and Caesar are the kind of both the well-known ones. And so I just love history. So I really want to do a history channel, but I feel such a burden to make sure I give you the best information possible because there's so much crap information out there. And you have to sometimes actually read the good stuff to get stuff. Oh my goodness, I can see your love. you have for history. Wait, thank you. Wait, thank you. I do. I do appreciate it. I love it so much. Love it so much. There's um oh, Rasha said, "You're so knowledgeable, you make me wanna pick up a history book." Thank you for sharing your knowledge. You are so welcome. You are so welcome. Jill says, "You might wanna read the complete works of Josephus. He lived during the time of Jesus. Very interesting." I do have the books, I haven't read them yet. I actually have the versions that my grandfather have. So, it's a very interesting time period, kind of the change in the dynamic and everything in that region. Laura says, "For the past 2 weeks, I started checking my subscription to the channel and shows unsubscribed." That's so weird. I feel like people report that. There's not really much I can do about it except for maybe let YouTube know. But yeah, it's kind of seems like it happens. And I don't know why. Michelle says, "Hello, everyone. Brittany, do you think Harry is being forced by Harry, Meghan Markle or the PR team to pick up the award, or do you think he's deluded enough to think he deserves it?" I think it's a combination of both. I think it's a combination of both. Sometimes I feel like Harry lives in his own self-imposed delusion in order to survive. That's what I think. Just for my my thoughts, anyways. What Paul says, William video on the scooter looks AI generated. The colors are all over the place. Also, the video is extremely blurred. That's kind of what happens if you're really far away from the subject. So let me pull this video up again. Because guys, I've taken a lot of pictures. I've seen the difference of pictures between my cell phone and the and just is that oop. Oh, I can't do that. Okay. There you go. So I guess I have to just there we go. So yeah, I don't see anything because you are really far away. So just to understand, so you can see it when they zoom out because sometimes you just don't understand. Okay. So look how okay. Look how it keeps pausing. Okay. Okay. Um oh, sorry, I clicked the wrong thing here. Let's go over here. And you can see how far away if you've never been to Windsor Castle, so this lawn green, I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but it's this big green lawn in the front of Windsor Castle, and it's in a courtyard. And if you are touring the site, you don't go into the courtyard, so you are way stinking far away. And to get a video like that to zoom in, you are going to get crappy quality. You are going to get crappy quality. Like I kind of wish when I had taken a video of when I was at the coronation of the carriage going by, I wish I had switched my camera to video mode and then on my camera instead of on my phone because the phone it can zoom in, but guys, beyond a certain level, the zoom is crap. It just is. Um, I don't have it handy, but like my big telephoto lens will give you so much better pictures and images. That's why when I went to the coronation, I had my big camera because now the pictures weren't perfect in part because I got too close to the fence and I couldn't get the right pictures and stuff like that. And that was my fault. But if you are like you need those big telephotos lens. These can do okay, but honestly, at the end of the day, especially if something's far away, you pull it in, like the quality is crap. The quality I get from using my big cameras compared to the camera phone oodles difference, especially like if I'm doing a general scenery shot or something like that, my camera there does just fine. But if I'm trying to get people or images and they're far away, big telephoto lens is the way to go. It just is. So you see the distance here. It's blurry because they are super far away. It's super far away. I don't know if I can pull up a picture and kind of give you guys better because I think sometimes people like ask questions like that because if you haven't been there and if you haven't seen it, you just might not know, and that's totally fine. Just want to see if I have a picture here. Oh, it's not the well. This is kind of so. This is actually, and this again is taken, I believe. Let's see if it takes. Let's see what the info says here. They'll tell me. Yeah. Oops. I was just trying to get info. If this was taken with. Okay, so this one was taken with my iPhone. But this was a pictures too. Pictures are different than. So this is a picture I took. So Oops, no. Ah, there we go. There's the picture I took. And so he's literally scooting from, like, there to there, and so you're pretty far away, and this is, like, a wide angle shot. So if I got closer, my picture quality would go down. So, anyways, um, and it depends on the sunshine of the day and all sorts of things, all sorts of things. Matt ID says, "Where do you think Beatrice and Eugenie's loyalties lies?" Um, I've honestly have never understood this question. Their loyalty lies to the crown because that's the smart thing to do always. But Harry is their cousin, and so Beatrice has a good relationship with Harry. That's fine. That's fine. I don't like totally criticize her for that or going, oh, she's an enemy camp or whatever. No. And she hasn't really associated with Harry since the Netflix series came out. She hasn't really publicly associated with him. They chatted with him a bit at the coronation, but that was it. Um, yeah. Water says, I think not having Princess Charlotte as a working royal would be a bad idea. She's totally Princess Anne 2.0. 100%. 100%. Jenna says, buying support as always. One of the previous Tillman Award winners who spoke out in favor of Harry actually received a donation from the couple. Yeah. Yeah. Aw. Neely says, my cat, Callie, says hello to Miss Pippa. Caroline says, "I disagree, Brittany. It's not the Harry show; it's the Meghan Markle show." Yes, that is the other problem. At least in this instance, you could argue it's more the Harry Meghan show or Harry show, but when she's there, especially, it's the Meghan show because Harry's all his attention goes to her. His attention go to her. Okay. So Richard Ring says it's interesting to see Edward and Sophie now occupy the role of Harry and Meghan. They promoted to from the Earl and Countess of Wessex to the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh and taken their place. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And Sophie and Edward always had kind of a great spot because they went to all the foreign royal events, so like all the big birthday tiara events, all the big like weddings and stuff. Sophie and Edward always went to. So Sophie and Edward always had a really good role, and then it was always in place to elevate Edward to the Duke of Edinburgh. But yeah, they got even more attention now that Harry and Meghan are gone. So Caroline says, Marnie, I had to go to the northwestern Australia just before the wet season. The humidity was dreadful. In Perth, we have a dry heat. Much preferred 45-degree day over humidity any day. Yes. Oh my gosh, I'm so tired of the humidity, guys. Can't even tell you. Can't even tell you. So let's see here. Rich says, she supposedly doesn't care about the titles, but holds on to it like death. As Angela Levin has said, maybe if you practice philanthropy and actually work, things would be different. Yeah, I kind of agree. Meghan and Harry cling to those titles, as if there is like if that is the end of the line, like that's the best they can do. And so they insist on clinging so hard to those that it just comes across as inauthentic because they constantly need to talk or promote themselves and stuff like that, and it's like I think they would do so much better without the titles because you have to like they've left the royal family. You guys have to stand on your own 2 feet every time you use the title the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. All it reminds us is that you left being the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Stacy says, I'd love for Lady Louise to follow in her cousin Zara's footstep and be an Olympian and equestrian. Yeah, I don't know because my goodness. She is competing in events. I don't know if they are at Olympic level. That's what I don't know. In sports terms, Harry's Tillman Award will always have an asterisk after it. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Meathead says, I doubt Charlotte will be doing the small meat and potato engagement. She is and will be a superstar of William's reign and a great support to George. Her profile will be on a much bigger scale. Yeah, but I mean, maybe Louis will. I mean, the thing is too, though, Charlotte really could be the meat and potatoes and do a great job at it, and that might be awesome. But yeah, since she is going to be, you know, women in royal circles generally gain more attention, she'll have a lot of attention on her. Maryland, they have constantly been in everyone's faces almost every single day since they left England, and nothing they have done has been to any benefit to anyone whatsoever. They're done, I'm afraid. Yeah, it just doesn't think. So, yes. Oh, good. I'm glad so many people said no issues with the videos because I was curious. I was curious. But yeah, you can, you know, refresh if you need to. We have Jundi Christensen. Good evening from Norway. Good evening. Good evening. Yes, Kiernan says there are a lot of channels on YouTube now just pushing out fake info on Harry and Meghan. I don't understand who is doing it or why. Yeah, I mean, so here's the thing that, and I need to do a video on this in a couple different ways. And the thing I see, and again, this is something I've just never been interested in because to me, always truth has mattered one way or the other, and good reporting, good journalism. And I won't sit here and say I'm the best ever, and I don't really have sources yet. But my instincts usually, when I read a story, my instincts end up being pretty good. So I will say that. But it's become profitable to hate on Harry and Meghan. That's true. That's true. And some less scrupulous people, you could say, or people who are just more interested in the clicks and less interested in, the dynamics of what royalty is and how royalty functions, they just jump on the bandwagon and they just say whatever and they just don't really know. And so that is sort of the big difference, or at least how I try to hold my channel to a different standard, is that some people will just say anything because, again, it's become beneficial. Why wouldn't you say anything? And yes, sometimes those people have great points, not that they don't. But I always come at it, or try to come at it, from everything from understanding how monarchies function and how Harry and Meghan are damaging monarchies overall. That's why I try to at it from. So yeah, not perfect by any means. Oh, Janine gifted 10 Royal News Network memberships. So I thank you so much, Janine. I'm sure some people will really, really appreciate it. Really, really appreciate it. Marjorie says the lawyers are laughing all the way to the bank. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Oh, P Pacific, big soccer game today in Germany. Prince William is attending George II, England versus Switzerland. Watch on Fox TV channel, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. So I guess they are there. Okay. All right. There's some weird people in the chat. I don't know why people come and annoy other people in chats. I've never understood that. I've never understood that. Okay, so let's keep going here. Trying to find some maybe names I haven't read yet. So we have KD says, why was Meghan allowed to go with Meghan and not Rachel once married? I don't know. I don't know, to be honest. I mean, I guess she's always gone by Rachel, and that's why. So Debbie says, explain where the royal bodies are supposed to come from working within protocols. I guess I don't quite understand the question. Um, so yeah, I think there's a question, obviously, when it comes to the surrogacy. The child must be born of the woman's body, and I understand that point, and I understand why people are like, well, she is a surrogate, then they're not. But again, I just don't think the surrogacy thing, and even if there's surrogacy, I just don't even know. I don't even know. So Jane Bucks fan says, I don't think has a route back to Prince William and his family. Throwing Meghan under the bus will turn his custody case and get very, very ugly. Very true. Very true. But again, that's the only way I think that's how he gets back somewhat into the thing. So Melissa says, Brittany, please pay attention to the chat. So I get a little behind in the chat, so I'm trying to get there. But if you see somebody who is like a troll or anything, just delete or block or whatever, and usually they end up going away. So, and that's just a way to just ignore them because what they want is attention. So just block and ignore. Best way to deal with them at any point. Because engaging just makes things worse. Just makes things worse because they just are desperate for attention. So we have PDD says Meghan won't be able to sell her homemade wares because it would require a cottage license here, California, to make things in her home, and she won't get it because she can't pass inspections with animals in the house. It's not just that though. Apparently, she really actually wants to she wants to sell products that have nothing to do with the jam. If the wine rumor is believed to be true, and Richard Eden was spot on about saying that, oh, they had started filming Meghan Markle's cooking show, so he was 100% on it, 100% on that. And he's like, it's gonna sell wine. And it's like, so what was the point of the Yam campaign, Meghan Markle? That's just ridiculous. Why? Oh my gosh, it's so crazy. So, anyways, oh yeah, she's a lady in Texas said Gwen grew up in Hollywood. Gwyneth Paltrow. Yes, she did. She did, and her parents were both pretty well known within the industry. Yeah. So, okay, let's see. Yes, they're no mod. So if you see somebody claiming to be a mod, that is not who they are. Yeah. Aw, Marilyn says, "Thank you, sir, for being so kind. I just figured out and blocked the 2 or 3 of them. Insanity." Yes. And, we've gotten by for quite a bit without any, which is awesome. But apparently, every once in a while, my goodness. Okay. Somebody is desperate for attention, but that's fine. Um, Jeannie says, like my daddy always says, it's not how much you make, it's how much you spend. And Harkles spend like billionaires that won't last long. Yes, they're living a millionaire's life. They're living a billionaire's lifestyle and a millionaire salary. Like they want to fly private all the time. They can't afford private all the time. They're not making enough money at this point. At some point, they're not going to make enough. And especially if her cooking show craps out and so does her lifestyle brand, because the Tick was never that successful. So this is not going to go anywhere. So let's see. Ah, yes, people saw Baby Pippa. Say Baby Pippa. Yes. So Jenna says DC says Meghan picked at Harry's old wounds, which once seemed to heal. Yes. Again, she brought out the worst in him. She brought out the absolute worst in him. Yes, some of those sentiments and thoughts were always there. But if you have a good spouse, they help you, and it's not their job to, but they can help encourage you in different ways. But Harry gets like the worst. So Alana says, my sister's dog does the same thing, looks right in the mouth. Oh, yes. Up the nose. And oh, Pippa. She's the sweetest. I mean, she's so sweet. But yeah, the kisses, I'm like, are you up in my nose? So Debbie says, I love so much that you love Pippa so much. Yes. Yeah. My family has told me that like they're not like, I mean, they would be around me, but they are a little nervous about when something might happen to Pippa. So Pink Thistle says, I think summer Scotland is wet now. So I think summer has been delayed here. Yeah, I mean, it honestly might be nice because all I've had is sunshine. And although I love sunshine, I like a little rain too. Becky says Pippa does look sleepy. Yeah, she does. I think she is just like she wants to be in charge and like other dogs are doing things and they're not doing what she wants them to do. And that annoys her. So let's see. So Shahar says, how much of Diana's jewelry does Meghan actually own? Not that much. She kind of owns the more trinkety things, I would call it, like the butterfly earrings, which are kind of lame. The cross necklace, which nobody has ever seen her wear, or like Diana has ever seen her wear. And then what are we doing? And she also has an aquamarine ring and maybe the watch, but that's been a point of contention. So Wendy says, good morning, Wendy. Celine says, more likely she suddenly cannot remember where the jewelries were or list them depending on which way the wind is blowing. Yeah. She definitely wants to keep all the rings. Lori says, do you think Meghan will go up to accept the ESPY award with Harry? He's probably too scared to go alone. Meghan doesn't want the negativity. No, I don't. I think he'll go up alone. I mean, he should go up with Invictus people and have them talk, but she wants to give him the good kiss and like, do the big gesture. Because for always what Harry and Meghan do, it's always about the big gesture. It's never about like the little things, I feel like. So Spice Rack says, you look lovely this morning with your subtle but perfect makeup, hair, and outfit. Thank you for putting together on a Saturday morning for us. You are so welcome. Because I had to do a bit of dry shampoo. The lights are just make everything look better, guys, to be honest. Oh man. Oh man. His servant says, I cannot see Meghan as a parent. She's so consumed with herself. Yeah. And honestly, we haven't seen her much as a parent, to be honest. Again, we just haven't seen her much as a parent. So it's just hard to say. It's just hard to say 100%. She could be a great parent. But also, I think it's weird that she seems to travel all the time with her parent, without her kids. Because, I mean, I know she has a lot more help than most people. But when it comes to like travel and stuff like that, my mom was like, I took you everywhere with me, and Meghan doesn't take her kids anywhere, even to go to the farmer's market. She's never there with her kids. So and nobody, we don't even really hear any reports about them being seen out with the kids very much. So Becky says, I will not even read Spare from the library. I do have a copy of Spare just because I would listen to Harry's, oh gosh, the Gabor Mate, that whole conversation about how, yeah, I listened to that. Oh, that was rough. That was rough. Oh, Marilyn says, I think you've done brilliantly, Brittany. I've witnessed your growth using your equipment, and it's complicated as well. Thank you. Yes, it is complicated. I have this whole Roadcaster thing Pro, expensive piece of equipment. It's currently lights off because I don't think it's working quite well, but I don't know how to fix it. I don't know. So I kind of pout to myself sometimes because I'm like, Gretchen says, really appreciate your interest in history. I learn something every time I watch or listen to you. Why, thank you. I wanted to be a teacher for a while, and then I did this. I was going to do this program, and then they told me like the placement rate was only like 20%. I was like, well, I'm not, doing all this extra stuff on education if the placement rate is 20%. Of course, getting a master's degree in history probably wasn't maybe all that bright either, but I made it work. Well, actually, it was really good actually, because one of the best things I learned through the program was how to evaluate information, which I've used throughout my career. I know how to evaluate information. Is this good? Is this bad? Sometimes when I was reading, especially with things that lean more medical, I'd look up who wrote this, what are their leanings, are they involved in politics and different things like that. And you can tell a lot by who wrote a particular article and their, maybe their political leanings, because people claim to be unbiased, but biases exist everywhere. So you have to determine if this person is honest in their bias enough where you can get past what they say, if that makes sense or whatever. So Marilyn says, that's true, Brittany. But it brings the specter of being a little too open with a duplicitous duo, and they just aren't there for any of that rubbish. They just done with the two of them. Yeah. They don't want to be they don't want to be they don't want to be transparent. They don't want to do any of that. Alana says, Charlotte looks so happy while meeting Taylor. She did. She did. Rit says, huge thank you to those who are gifting memberships. So kind. Yes, it's so nice. Natalie says, while we were talking about Harry's bought awards as an author, I wonder how now if Harry's bestseller status was bought too. There are companies that do that marketing in that way. 100%. 100%. So the thing too is my understanding, what I heard around the time is that stores that say had 2 pre-orders of Harry's book were forced to buy 12. They couldn't just buy 2 books. They had to buy the box of 12. And now when you think about that, let's say they had 13 pre-orders at a big Barnes & Noble. Well, they had to order 24 books. And I think what we've seen, because we've never seen a paperback copy of it yet, I think they're having a hard time moving the hardbacks, because bestseller status can be achieved by basically shifting a whole ton of books to the source. Not that Harry's book probably wasn't a bestseller, it was, but it might have been a bit inflated because that's what publishers do now. They inflate their numbers. They buy their own books, essentially what they did. Kind of like buying the award, they bought their own books. Janine says, "You're welcome, guys. I really enjoyed the membership and I like to gift it some out when I can. It's so sweet." CDBB says, "So many stories about Meghan wanting reconciliation with Catherine, but implying the royals aren't receptive to healing. I believe Meghan is behind this. What kind of person does this? One that is desperate for attention." Although I will say, and I've said this before, what Harry and Meghan started was just this cavalcade of news. And what happens with this cavalcade of news is that people want to keep it going because it's generating headlines. And so they just keep going. They regurgitate. Now, a lot of what I see now in some ways are just regurgitated stories that come out again and again and again and again. And Harry and Meghan started this train and it hasn't stopped. Bella the Raindrop said something is distracting her. LOL. Guys, it is hard to read and think of responses and evaluate, the comments at the same time. It is two things at the same time. It's hard. P Pacific says Princess Catherine sent a note to tennis great Andy Murphy with his recent Wimbledon honor. As per usual, she simply signs C. No calligraphy, titles, crests, etc. Like you know who. Yes. So desperate. Kieran says, "I'm now at the part now where William is on his scooter. So adorable. LOL. It's so cute. It's so cute. I love it." Susan says, "Love seeing Miss Pippa. My buddy is curious also." Yes. P Pacific says, "My hope is wish is that George attends. It's still not sure. We'll tune in." Yeah, I'll look here in a second, probably after we get done. CDBB says, "We really appreciate your hard work on this channel." Why, thank you. Why, thank you. Yeah. So crazy amount of like, Oreo. Oh my goodness. Some bot really decided that this was the day he wanted to attack. I don't know why. Um, Janine says, "I've cleaned up my dog's poop with spare pages." It's true. I love that. I love that. That's awesome. That is awesome. That is awesome. Aw. For your set of fresh flowers on your rack. Yes, I need to get, I've been trying to get some fresh flowers. And so I need to get some again here before too long. So, anyways, guys. Oh, and we have Calla says, "I want George and Charlotte to drag race with those scooter thingies." Yes. Oh, 100% yes. 100% yes. I'm so in league for that. So, guys, on that happy note, if you have a scooter, feel free to. Oh, another great Joe. Demetra says, "Thank you." And we have Jill says, "Love your channel, all your hard work." Why, thank you. Well, if you love a scooter too this weekend, now in all safety, be safe, of course, but you can embrace your inner Prince William and maybe scoot around a castle if you have it or your own home. Because I mean, obviously, all our homes are our own castles. So, guys, anyways, thank you so much for joining us this morning and for Miss Pippa. And she is going through all, I just got to say this one, MJ Clark, when you're going through chemo, you can only concentrate on yourself and your loved ones, not other people's dramas. It's true. But I really, yes, I hope Catherine and William are doing great in the family and that maybe Catherine gets to enjoy her time on the scooter as well. So, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great Saturday, and I will see you next week. Bye. Oh,